Hello, I'm happy to greet all our guests, participants of our press conference. I'm welcoming all the colleagues, journalists who are here in this place, and also everybody who is going to watch this video in social media everywhere. That we are live in Russian and in English. We are talking about a documentary which is called Don't Stay Silent. It is the story of Faina Savinkova. You can already see this film. Check it out on our site. The heroes of the movie and the creators of the movie are going to be talking about it. So the main character of the movie, a writer, Faina Savinkova, an activist. It is so great that you are now my colleague and that you are now on practice in our agency. I also am very happy to welcome the author of this film, Klim Poplavsky, documentary filmmaker. And also I'm welcoming here the international human rights advocate, publicist Mira Terada, a British journalist, John Miller. Also next to me is the combat fighter in Donbass, Diane Berich. Welcome. On video we have George Lyson, an American journalist, and also we're going to have a video message from the Deputy Permanent Representative of the Russian Federation to United Nations, Dmitry Polyansky. Well, it's early in New York at the moment, so he could not connect online just yet. I would like to begin our press conference with a short explanation about the movie. Please have a look. This is the preface to the movie. She turned away from the window in the tram and told me, "Thank you, you made my dream come true." I was surprised. I asked, "Which dream?" She said, "In my town, there are no trams since the war began." This is Matvey, Faina's brother. He is always by the side of his sister because she's in danger, Faina, and she is in the death list. This preface is being recorded while I'm filming the final stages of the movie about Faina Savinkova, a girl that is 14 years old, who is in the death list of Mirotvorets website. What is Mirotvorets website? It is extremist website. I am in this site, says Christelle. This is the death list. Many journalists are there. Writers, politicians, friends of the author of more than 8 books that are translated to dozens of languages. It took me the longest time to make this movie. I made it during a year. Watch the movie on RT Doc. Story of Faina Savinkova. Thank you, colleagues. Klim, you already started a little bit about the movie. How did you get the idea to make this movie? What did you want to say with this movie? And you, as a person who is in Donbass for a very long time, why were you touched by Faina's story? And now you just said that it took you quite a while to create this movie, the whole year. How come? I welcome everyone, colleagues. Thank you very much for finding the time to come here, that there's so many of you here right now, and that you have devoted your time and your interest to this subject. It is now 1 year and 2 months. So 1 year and 2 months ago, I did not know that such a fundamental writer, such a fundamental human being existed. And it's really true to say, the human from a capital letter, Faina Savinkova. Back on that day, when I met Faina, I was working with a military correspondent from Chinese channel called Phoenix, Yuan Gao. And I asked, we were on our way from Mariupol. I asked him, "Lou, where are we going?" He said, "We are going to Lugansk to have an interview with a girl who they are trying to liquidate, to kidnap." I was so surprised by the combination of words. The girl to be liquidated, to be kidnapped. Why? I, at the moment, was seeing lots of things, but I didn't understand them, and didn't really understand what could a person do to harm somebody. So we came to Faina, because my Russian was somewhat better than the Russian of the Chinese Voenkoor. I said, let's interview her, and then I will give you the materials. So we started to talk to Faina. And about 10 minutes into the conversation, I realized what a huge person is in front of me, what a huge subject that is. That this is a human being that is inside a child's body temporarily, who thinks in a certain way. Not just precisely, that's not even the most important thing, but in very light and very sincere way. Then I turned into a fan, an absolute fan of her creativity in literature. I recommend everyone. It won't be a wasted time. It would be a great pleasure for you to read her. In the movie, I found a way to show her talent. I personally quote, I read several extracts from her different books. It was, of course, impossible to include all of them. Faina, I'm sorry for that. I was trying, but the most fundamental ones were quoted in the movie. It wasn't easy to select the pieces, the extracts of the text, so that it would express what I wanted to say, that it would be about Faina, that it would be about the subject, because every page of the book is filled with something. It's not like empty space. It's a very complex symbiosis of text, of meanings. And it's very difficult to exclude them and to choose some one of them. All of them are very characteristic about her. Her new book, by the way, Four Walls, I'm very happy that I was able to quote them in that film, because the book is not finished yet. Was not finished yet by the time of the movie. It's not published yet. Well, almost. Okay, almost. So it was not easy to make this movie. At some point, I couldn't even believe that I'm going to finish it, because I started to get into some psychomedical experiment somehow in my consciousness, because I was constantly filming more and more, adding more and more to the movie, editing again and again. I was constantly in that process of editing, of creation. And when I started to tell myself that I should stop somehow, somewhere, I also understood that in a month, it will be 1 year that I've been making this movie, so it's very difficult. Thank you very much to RT, for Russia Today, that they didn't demand it, that they were waiting for me. They believed that the movie will be good and that it will be out together with my other movies. So it was a very long work. It was a great work. Faina helped to find the speakers. And again, here it's very important to say that the scenario of this movie, it is 80% for 80% Faina's scenario. After several hours or several days of knowing me, she said, I have the autobiographic scenario. I want to make this movie. And Klim said, yes, let's do it. I'll help you. The whole structure of the movie is autobiographic of Faina, which is written by Faina. It was also not easy to film all the speakers, because they were in all different places in Russia or in new territory. They're very busy people. Somebody was abroad and still is abroad. Somebody wasn't very sure that they actually can meet with me, but they all did their part, because Faina was the driver. During the whole movie in this subject, it's quite a difficult subject. Faina was my co-author. She was my driver. She was helping in every aspect. Basically every day. Like now, we write to each other. Even when I don't have all the time to answer, she still asks, how's it going? What's going on? So that's how it all started from the beginning, and it still continues like this. I am very happy with the result. I think the movie is very good. I don't have anything similar to that. It's something between investigation and something psychological, documentary psychological work. During this time, Faina became older, we all grew older, and it is great. And we have discussed this movie with Mira before. It is very good that this movie was made earlier, when we still were not here in our thickness of skin, when we still didn't get used that much to the fact that we have war at home. Now we all found sides. Now we all have cells on this board. Somebody did change. Somebody changed color. It's their choice. But we know for sure where we are going. And at that moment, when we were making the movie, we were just finding those ways. We were like blind and searching for our E2, E4 on this chessboard, or what will be, what was. Somebody's not with us anymore, you know? So right now, we would have chosen quite different expressions. So it's great that we filmed it earlier when we were more naive and therefore more open for each other. It's good that now the movie is already existing. That's what I would like to say. Klim, thank you very much. I would like to offer to your attention one more bit from the movie. Please have a look. Sister. Sister is the closest person to me. She's stubborn. I was born in Lugansk in 2008, when it was still a Ukrainian town. What is the biggest evil for you? Probably wars. Do you remember how this war started? Yes. How old were you? I was 5.
Actually listing bounties for people. And I predicted that this would be used against journalists. Now, the fact that they're putting children on this.
Как она смеет писать, будучи не на Украине?
How does she dare to write? Well, I write about children, about animals. Normal, adequate person cannot write that she should be killed, that we should get rid of her. First of all and foremost, Faina is a child. So her parents could be scared for her death, for her life. Yes, of course, they have already tried to kill her. And it's not the first time when a minor is included in Mirotvorets. This information is available to everyone. They say that she's the enemy of Ukraine, that she does propaganda against Ukraine. Ukraine is shelling peaceful civilians. She just said the truth. I want that in the United Nations they would remember that we, children of Donbass, have the right to have childhood and peaceful life. Story of Faina Savinkova. Thank you. Faina, we have met several years ago. You already back then were famous because you tried to tell the truth about the war that got into your life, got into the life of other children of Donbass, took away your childhood. You were placed by Ukraine to the kill list of Mirotvorets. This, of course, is horrendous. It's very scary, but it did not break you. You continue to speak the truth. Recently, I saw your appeal to Trump, to President-elect Trump, with request to close Mirotvorets. You became older, but you still support your principles. You still continue your fight. Was it difficult for you to take part in this movie? You wrote the script. You became the main character. What did you want to tell people by participation in this movie, by this movie? About this website, Mirotvorets, because this is a very important subject. It violates all international laws, all laws of Ukraine. That's why it should be closed. As for the script, I really wanted such movie to be made. and I wanted it before we met with Klim, so I was thinking that it would be cool to make something like that. Was it difficult to be filmed? Yes, to a degree, because it is my first experience. I didn't have such experience before. I never took part in movies before, but I'm very glad that the movie is made, that it is out. Did you change the script during the filming? Not really. So you wrote it and you were following. Well, that's more a question to Klim. Faina made the core, the basis, and she directed me to the vector that she wanted, what speakers could take part there, what could be interesting, and then she totally trusted me, and I would put, as you wish, as I can say, all the meat onto the bones structure. So the structure was made by Faina, but all the muscles, all the beauty, all the skin further on was done, all the makeup, of this documentary film of this very nice lady, if I can call it this way, that was done by me. Faina, do you have a wish to continue to work in documentary journalism? It's very complicated. Well, you have time to think about it. You're still in school, right? Yes, it's all ahead of me. Well, you have the experience. Now, colleagues, I would like to suggest to have a look at the video message from the Deputy Permanent Representative of Russian Federation to United Nations, Dmitry Polyansky. Well, we can say that Dmitry Alexeyevich is one of the characters of this documentary film. Dear colleagues, I would like to greet everyone who came today to this conference on the movie about Faina Savinkova. This film is not just about this brave, courageous girl who has done so much for the truth about what's going on in Donbass, on the persecutions of the Russian-speaking people, of children, of women, that were done by Ukrainian authorities starting from 2014, about the shelling of peaceful cities, about the lives that were lost senselessly because of this campaign of violence started by Kiev regime, so that this truth would come out. And as many people as possible in the whole world will learn about it, including also the United Nations organization. This movie is respect to all the people of Donbass, to their courage, to their will, that they did not break down to Ukrainian inhumane aggression, to their horrendous actions, the examples of which we cannot even find in our recent history, except for the time of German occupation. That's the only thing that we can compare it with. I am very thankful to Faina for continuing her efforts to make sure that everyone knows the truth, that all these things are happening in Ukraine still, and that still in Donbass, the people who live there, they cannot walk out and just go on the streets normally because they are afraid of Ukrainian shellings, that they are still under threat, that their peaceful life cannot come to norm in this region. But I'm hoping that it will be very soon, that we'll be in the stage when all the people of this poor region of Russia will be able to enjoy peaceful sky above their heads. They have deserved it, and Faina has deserved it too. That is why I would like to wish everyone that this moment comes as soon as possible. We believe in our victory. We are right. We shall win. Mira, you're also part of this movie. How do you see your mission? Yes, hello. Well, of course, first of all, I'm going to speak now not as a cinematographer or an expert in this field, but as the human rights advocate, as somebody who cares in this whole situation. Of course, it's very difficult to believe that it's already been more than 1 year since the beginning of the making of this movie. During this time, a lot of things have changed. We got new knowledge, we got new experience. Faina has changed during this year as well, of course. but at the same time she remained in her fight with this criminal site, dangerous site, Mirotvorets. But you know what else has not changed? The existence and the work of this site. It is still there. It not just didn't change, it's been like this for a few years. And during all these years, I'm together with Faina in our fight against Mirotvorets. The existence of this site is the shame of the modern civilized society. Developing the law against bullying, improving the cyber safety. The world is doing all that, but still does nothing against this site. The fact that it's blocked on the national level here doesn't resolve the problem completely. When a child is afraid of aggression of a neighboring dog, what you can do, you can close the eyes of the child and pretend that the problem is solved because the child doesn't see that aggressive dog. But at the same time, he would still feel that danger. He would know that the dog is still there and it's ready to jump out and attack him. Mirotvorets, which is shown like an informational resource as a mask of it, is actually a tool to spread hatred, to spread xenophobia, and a threat to the safety of people. We cannot stay indifferent to this. The main cause, the main aim of this project is to discredit people based on their political views, their nationality. This site uses personal data of people so that they would be threatened or bullied. The examples of how this data is misused, they place personal information of people without they agreeing to that. They write wrong allegations there and they create inter-ethnic hatred. Also, this site can lead to physical violence towards people that are there on the site. Everyone knows, everyone remembers the horrendous tragedies of Dasha Dugina, Olесь Buzina deaths, and of deaths of other people. Those were murders, and those murders are direct example of this. The study shows that such platform creates toxic atmosphere of hatred and fear. They create a serious blow against the rights of human being, about the rights to express yourself, the right to keep your life safe, and the right to be safe. There is direct correlation between hatred, propaganda of hatred online, and increase of violence in the real life. Sites like Mirotvorets create the conditions to justify violence towards the group of people who they consider enemies. What can we do against these sites? It's a very difficult task, multifaceted tasks. We work with law enforcement, with public organizations, with international organizations. As you see, Faina has addressed the United Nations. There were reports sent there, created by public organizations here. The results were told to United Nations as well. So together, this is a joint work that should be aimed against this resource and the ideology that it's spreading. We have informational campaigns aimed at enlightenment of society regarding the nature of this resource and such similar resources. We must talk about the content of such resources and form the public opinion that would reject such projects. And here, of course, I would like to thank especially Klim Poplavsky. He's a great documentary filmmaker who has created this film, Don't Stay Silent, story of Faina Savinkova. This fight, and because of his fight, because of this movie, the fight against this site Mirotvorets will stay in history. And also, I am Faina's godmother. I am a human rights advocate, and I would like to underline that the defense of human rights should make it a priority to fight with platforms like Mirotvorets. The task of the society, civilized society, is to stop spreading of hatred. Our unity and our efforts can be united and work only when we work together. With media, with state, with just simple people, with state authorities, we all should say that we do not accept, that we reject such aggression. This campaign should be supported by everyone. because this is destructive thing that such sites exist, and together we could create a safe space for everybody. Thank you very much for your attention. And Faina, thank you especially, because you keep fighting with this evil. Some people might not notice what this resource has inside it, what ideas it promotes, and Klim, thank you very much for your work. I advise everyone to watch this film. It's a great combination of in genres, in delivering the information in documentary style, how the real life is, and it really gets to you. It gets right through your heart. You won't stay indifferent, I promise you. On RT Dog. Once again, please have a look at the screen. Another bit from the movie. Time of truth. We discovered that there was data of 327 children on this resource. And that's not just Russian children. They were also Ukrainian, Azerbaijani, Armenian children. These are the countries from where we found kids on this resource. The child is in the list that wants to destroy it. It's one of the most shocking things. It's an extremist website. To publish such lists that promote violence against children, that's too much for me. Thank you very much. One more participant of our conference is online, George Eliason.
I'm George Eliason. Thank you for supporting this film. And the documentary about Faina Savinkova is very, very important, and its relation to Mirotovets. I discovered Mirotovets in very early 2015, and I publicized them as soon as they were coming online. And at that time, they were actually publishing bounties for people. And I predicted that they'd be going after journalists right away. Within a month, Oleg Buzina was dead. Now imagine being a child growing up in the war zone. And this is the life that children like Faina have had all this time. They don't know much else. To advocate for peace, and you find yourself on this hit list or kill list, and it's already been acted on. This is how decadent and how dangerous the Ukrainian government is. Mirotovets was manned by the same group that was giving NATO and the US information, all the information they were getting about what was going on here. They were going to the US Congress, they were going to NATO, they were going to the European Parliament. And this, of course, refers to information napalm. They were supplying all that information for all these countries, as well as filling out this list. How many hundreds of children are on it? How many people on this list have died or disappeared? Now, this is a clear violation of humanitarian law, humanitarian rights, and humanitarian values, and yet it goes on unchecked. So this documentary is very, very important, exposing that, and I hope you'll support it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, the microphone is yours.
Извините, я говорю Yeah, the New York Times, the American newspaper, published a story about Mirotvorets in 2016 when their own journalist was put on the list. But the story of children being put on the list has been ignored by the Western mainstream press. When I did the story about Faina, I contacted some mainstream journalists in the West that I knew and said, look, it's an important story. And they shrugged and said, well, I'm sure Russia has similar lists. I said, no, it doesn't. And if they did, you'd be all over the story. This website would be illegal. I'm sure it would be illegal in Russia. I'm not sure about Russian law. I'm sure it would be taken down. It would certainly be illegal in any European country to promote the violence and to publish the private details, home addresses of children. It's an extraordinary story. And it's a symbol of the extremism that exists inside Ukraine. And the reason that it remains up is because it is very, very powerful and useful in intimidating those who criticize the Ukrainian government into silence. If you're Ukrainian, if you're in Donbass, if you're Russian, it's very, very serious to be on that list. There's some Western journalists on that list, myself included. If you're in America, I don't think you have to worry too much. But if you're in Donbass, Russia, Ukraine, it's very, very serious. And it's left up because it intimidates people into silence. So if you're in Ukraine, Donbass, if you support peace talks in Ukraine, if you supported the end of the conflict in Donbass over 8 years, you'd be scared for your life. And numerous people on that list have been killed. It also writes liquidated. There was an Italian journalist who was killed in Donbass, and it writes liquidated. It celebrates the killing of Western journalists. It's a shocking example of Ukrainian extremism, and that's why I'm here today, because I find it unbelievable that it's been allowed up. And let's be very clear, European, Western nations have the power to take down the list. They have the power to take down that list. But they don't, because it's also a strategy from NATO countries to intimidate people, journalists, into silence, those who are critical of Ukrainian policy and Western policy, in order to try and bring this war, this conflict to an end as soon as possible.
Спасибо.
Thank you. Diane, the microphone is yours. First, to Faina, because about Faina, because I know her for a very long time. We met 7 or 8 years ago, online. I was in Donbass at the time, but I had time. Like I like to write it myself. I like to write. I like children. I had the possibility to come to Donbass. I had enough money at the time. It was possible to buy a big flat in Moscow. But I decided that it better bring this money, direct this money to help people of Donbass. And I was looking for children who need to be helped, who need. And there are many such children, but Faina is most special. At first I saw her as a little fighter. She was doing taekwondo. She was so tiny. She was like a little doll. And then I read poems. Maybe you don't know, but in Donbass, some people understood that through children it is possible to get to something useful. When I when I saw Faina's poems, I couldn't believe that a little child wrote such poems because it was so mature. So I continued to read and read and read, and then I wrote a message to Faina, like, "Hi, that's me. I would like to talk to your parents so that they wouldn't think that there is someone harassing a child or something." Sure. So I wanted to talk to the parents first, and then I talked to the parents, and then I met with Faina. Faina began to talk to me, and I realized that's for real. These are her poems. These are her words. That these are the words of an adult who is inside the child's body. They were such thoughts that people who are 50 years old or so could envy to such mind. Then we met in Donetsk. Faina came there with her brother and her mom, and I asked her, do you understand what can happen if you be that public? She was maybe 9 years old, and she said, but I want to help and I want us to have peace. Not that the war is over, not that we win, but that we would have peace. The child of 9 years of age is saying this. You see this in her eyes, that's how she really thinks. After that, she went to have some ice cream, and I started to talk to Faina's mother. And I asked her, do you understand what can happen? Because Mirotvorets is not really a Ukrainian site. I'm listening to what you're saying. It's not Ukrainian, really. I studied history back when Yugoslavia was falling apart. 77th Brigade of English Brigade. You know, it's not. It's a very, very dangerous site. I am in. They tried to kill me on the 22nd of February. They burned my house. I stayed alive. It's not. Look, what's on Mirotvorets? It's real. This is really a hit list, a kill list. But I could not expect that it would also reach children. So I told Faina's mom what could be in the future. I asked her, did you talk to your daughter? Like, I can't talk to her. I know that she's strong. I want people to know. She wants people to know. And I just saw that we have that diamond in front of us, a real diamond. So my help wasn't much, just to direct her and to let her meet the right people. And then it was all Faina's work. If she was some spoiled child who would understand that she's getting everything for free, nothing would work out. No, we again returning to the brain of an adult who is inside the child, who did everything herself. You know, and then after 2019 or 20, all that remained for me is to watch with pride, look at her as if I'm looking at my daughter. That's how I perceive her, because we now have no right. And I say we as people and we as state, there is no right for us to leave these people alone. No, we must support them. I watch TV, I see it on the internet, you know, they show some stupid stuff, but we have smart people. We should be talking about smart people. Children are our future. Children who fight for wars to end. Children who fight for peace to come. They should be supported. You should do everything you can for these children to do what they can for the best of theirs and for the future of their other children, you know, and we talked about it. And when Faina got to Mirotvorets, she said, yes, I understand what's going on, but I started it and I'm not going to stop. I'm going to continue and finish it. And this is when I understood that this is the future. This is the really serious person. And I think that with this documentary movie, well, it's there. But if the person can write what she can write, then she will also be good in documentary filming. She just needs to be directed. And Faina is still very young, and she has all the possibilities in front of her. We must give her an opportunity to work, to study from experienced people. Unfortunately, this war has taken a lot from Russia, but it also gives a lot of possibilities to people who wouldn't have found this without this war. It's not just separating us to ours and not ours. It divided us into pseudo or fake patriots and real patriots. Many people come to Donbass just to, you know, hide their guilt or something. And a child from Donbass comes to us and teaches us how to love Russia, how to fight for what you believe for. So I hope that everything is ahead of you, Faina. I would agree with Dan. I didn't think about it. I thought about many coincidences, and in my family, the first person who was included into the Mirotvorets list is my mom, Yana Poplavskaya. She's there since 2014. I only got there when I was making the movies about people from Mirotvorets. So I was the only person in the group when I started who was not on Mirotvorets. And I thought, how come? Maybe they will finally notice me. So they did. They noticed me, put me there. I thought about it. But only when the movie was released, I realized that this is a very simple, as it turned out, and a very easy, available, affordable tool for parents to show to their children what the way of a teenager should be. Not of a TikToker, not of a quadrober, not of a cat or a dog, not just someone who goes out without any purpose in the yards of Moscow or of Donetsk, because it's very difficult from the height of your age to bring it over to a person who only begins his life, that something's wrong is happening, that you live somehow in the wrong way. And Faina for us is actually an absolute diamond, because it so happened that the form which is acceptable for the teenagers, it's difficult for them to read, but they still can watch. So, first of all, now I address the parents. Show them the movie. Show the movie to your children, especially to the children who are only getting into their teenage years, so that they would see that besides the possibility to consume life, you can also do something big, even though you are still young. You can still begin getting on this way. This is first thing. The second thing is I ask all possible organizations, all people abroad as well, show the movie. Collect people together, sit in your flat, in your house, turn this movie on so that everyone would watch it in order to understand this is not vain. This is not just some scary story for the West about who is not in the West. No, this is real. This is a serious problem. We give you a tool, not just letters, but the pictures. You can change letters later, but you can't change picture. No AI can reformat a movie. And another thing I'd like to say is the words of my mom. If you're on Mirotvorets, that means you do everything right. Faina, you have now heard so many kind words from your adult friends, because not every girl in your age can boast that she's got so many adult and reliable friends who surround her. Your classmates, your friends of your age, have they seen the movie? What did they say? Not everyone, but many of them are watching this now online. But I'm very, very glad. They are proud of me. They don't ask questions just yet. Do they know that you're on Mirotvorets? Yes, of course. So it's not a discovery for them. No, they knew. Well, I don't want to be the only one who asks questions. There are people who care. The journalists, you have a chance to ask your questions now. Please, Yuri Sergeyevich, World Russia, Deputy Chief Editor, thank you very much for this very interesting and this fantastic film, because it's very, very important to tell these stories during the SMO. The last time such tragedy in Donbass happened during Nazi times in Germany. There was no website of Mirotvorets. People were moved to Germany for work. It's still under investigations. Faina Vladimirovna, do you feel that it's some sort of a messiah's responsibility of a journalist that you give the truthful content for the audience? And I also would like to invite you to our council of journalists and experts so that you would present this movie also on our platform. Thank you. Well, missionary or not, I don't know what to say about it. I think that in any case, if you're a journalist, this is job to tell the truth. This is your obligation. So, colleagues, I understand very well what our obligation and our role is. Faina, and your book, Four Walls, that was mentioned earlier, what is it about? If in brief, it is a story of one family who lives in Donbass, and every time one member of the family dies, and only one girl remains, and every time a person dies, a member of the family dies, one wall falls. So all your books are about war or about peace that you would like to bring closer. That's true. Colleagues, any more questions? And Girshirina, Real Russia. We know Faina. It's been a while that I wanted to meet her, and when we communicated, I understood that yes, this is a child who is very adult, who is very wise. When I was looking for Faina in internet, I found an information that this is the name of a Chinese monk. That's very interesting. Also, Faina, fire, that's associated with fire. So my question is, Faina, what do you associate your word with, your strength of your word with? What kind of weapon is that? Truth? Okay, one more question then. We have such a thought, such a wisdom, like one person wakes up in the morning and starts to only speak truth, and by the end of that day he lost his family, his wife, his job. How do you tell the truth in such a way that you still keep friends and job? Maybe this person didn't have right wife and right friends and right work. That's real friends. They always support each other. Okay, one more thing. On the 31st of October, it was Faina's birthday. They call her Little Bird. I promised to give her a little bird. Here it is. Thank you so much. More questions? Klim, maybe do you have a wish to switch from documentary to documentary movies to movies, like, and use made by the books of Faina, like for example made on the basis of the book that we just mentioned? Do you want to make a movie on Four Walls? Well, recently we talked about this book in the Ministry of Culture with Olga Borisovna, that there is a huge problem in documentary filmmaking. There's a lot of documentary filmmakers who make their movies in post-war territories and near-war territories, and a very small group of people film something together with the soldiers, with assault units, exactly when the combat is happening at the line of contact. If now I leave this job, then I can say that it's just a handful of the filmmakers who do this. That's maximum. You see, who does this work, who makes movies in combat conditions at the line of contact. You see, we have a lot of documentary makers about the subjects that are next to the war, but not war, not combat itself. And if this is my service, and if I leave it now, then what's the point was to make this decision to serve my country in this way? So until the war is over, I won't be making movies. That's my I will only be making only documentary movies. Unfortunately, there is a sad tendency in movie making that, in spite of the fact that state gives you a lot of possibilities, a lot of grants, it has interests towards the subject of SMO, towards the subject of the war in Donbass. Those people who get the subjects who want to use these subjects. Unfortunately, these people have nothing to do usually with war in their normal life. They are very well fed, not in terms of food even, okay, nobody's hungry, but in the sense of general consumption of life, they are fine. These are people from Patriarch Spons, from Patriki, and I'm sorry, colleagues, but their films, we have a saying in Russia, it's fake. It's fake. There is historical movies, and it is very often that such attitude is aimed at it. Have you seen the movie? Ah, it's fake. Or could be how precise that is, you see? So I constantly get back to the character of Nikulin in the movie 20 Days Without War, when he comes to the film making of the movie journal. I think this tool, this method should be used now. That before the movie is shown in the theaters, not only in the theaters, but before it's released on TV, I want you to show these short military movies to society. Then the society would understand it better. So that character of Nikulin, he's so wonderful, and we believe him, and we believe the whole movie 20 Days Without War, because it's so complex and it's built on participants of war. So they ask him, is it possible that you can consult a military journal without ever being at the front lines? How can you do this work? He asks to this clean, in new uniform guy. So I'm interested. I understand that it's a rhetorical question, and I'm not going to get an answer ever to it. Guys, colleagues, do you really believe that you can make military movies without having spent one day in combat? That's not right. Look into the mirror. And maybe there will be some grain of conscience towards your children who will ask you later, Dad, why is the war that you have shown and the war in the documentary movies are such different wars? You know, this is the long answer to your question. When the war is over, I definitely, the first thing I will do is I will start working with featured this is the script for Faina's book, and if I'm alive, I will make that featured movie. But we need to make it first to the victory, and it's quite a long way there for us. We must continue this way. If someone's tired, think about the guys at the front lines. They are not tired to carry artillery that weighs as much as they do, or half of their weight. And now they are not tired of being there in this difficult weather, in their trenches, being covered in water by half of their height. You know, they are not tired, and they should be. That's the right answer to you. Well, yes, the best movies about the Great Patriotic War were made by people who were at this war, and probably the best movies about SMO are ahead of us, when they will be made by those people who saw it with their own eyes. Everything that was happening in Donbass. So let me rephrase my question. What will the next documentary movie be about? I've just returned from Kursk region. I'm making there a small cycle of movies about Kursk Battle 2.0. In Kursk, Akhmat is very special. And Apti Alaudinov, he's a fantastic man who is leading Akhmat there. They are absolutely fearless unit of specialists. Don't mix them up with Akhmat Chechnya or Akhmat East or Akhmat West. This is Akhmat is an international unit. These are the people who are in numbers of not more than 300 people. They fight in Kursk region, and they stop thousands of Ukrainians there. You see, and it's only 300 of them. So we have now found the line of defense there. We have defense there. It's it's concrete. These are firemen who cover the holes should they happen, who resolve problems. They are the main characters in my next movie, Kursk Battle 2.0, and in the nearest future, there will be another movie made to teach Homeland. It's about tactical medicine, the necessity of instructors' profession, instructors for tactical medicine, how important it is, not only at the front lines, but also in a civilian society. There's always a lot of materials there because I go there and I spend there a lot of time, not a week or two, but quite a lot of time at the front lines, and I returned with a lot of materials. I even have some material left from the previous summer, so I have a lot to edit, a lot to work with. But right now, my view is aimed, of course, at our territories of Russia, Kursk region, the tragedy that is happening there right now, the heroes that are fighting there right now. And by the way, talking about that, how important it is, how necessary it is to do the documentary filmmaking. We brought there 3 characters. There's Ahmad soldiers who were wounded. We brought them together with their commander, a sniper. His call sign is Aid. So we brought them to the central Kursk hospital, not military hospital. Many people recognized Aid right away by his chevron, wanted to take photos with him, and there was one girl, a volunteer there. Like in American movies, they have that we take most beautiful stuff there, so they had that stickers with her name, and her name, Stasia, was written on that sticker. So, and those guys, they are handsome, they are big, they are courageous, in their uniform, in their blood. She was like, who's that? What's going on? Like, they are assault unit. They are wounded. They just came back from assault attack. She's like, what do you mean? I look at her like, what's going on? She looks at me, what's going on? We look at each other like from 2 separate universes without understanding the mutual reaction of each other. Like, what's going on with her? Does she not know that 20 kilometers away from Kursk we have battles? And our guys are dying there? Doesn't she know that? And they said, there are many people like this here. And so I thought, how horrible it is that there is such a few information, that even in Kursk you can afford to be in such an informational vacuum. And the second thought that I had was that the character of my movie, Our Shores, Kum is his call sign, Georgi, he's from the Rapnadzor group who works on Dnieper Islands. It's very complicated. I asked him, doesn't it hurt you that the society has divided into these 2 halves? One half makes it look like nothing is happening and just waits it over, and the others give their lives. And he says, no, why not? And he says, well, tell me, when firemen rush somewhere with their in their cars, they rush to the fire and they scream, we are heroes, we are running there to quench that fire, right? Or when the emergency medical car is riding somewhere, they don't shout, hey, we are going to save a person now, we're gonna save the person now, we are heroes. That's not happening, right? The same thing is the Russian soldier, the multinational Russian soldier. He just does his heavy work, his most difficult work, without shouting that he's a hero, just a couple of kilometers, dozens of kilometers away from the city that can afford itself not to suspect that such a hard work is going on near them. These are the heroes ahead of us. These are the senses, the meanings of the movies that I'm going to use in the future. Thank you. Does anyone else want to say anything? I am asking everyone. Faina, maybe you? No? Any more questions? Yes. Sure. Please introduce yourself. The microphone is yours. Faina, we know each other for a while. I am also on Mirotvorets, like everyone here, almost everything here. You have written a lot of letters to many politicians in the West. Now Trump is the president-elect. Will you write a letter to him too? I already did, just yesterday. Faina's video is on the site of RIA Novosti. And in Telegram, I saw it today. Yes, you can check it out. Klim, the state television, is it interested in showing the film about Faina on Channel 1, on NTV, on those channels? I can tell you for sure that most of my movies are shown on VGTRK, and a lot of movies are on RT. It's also a state channel. It's the main English channel for us internationally, both for news and for documentary. So with RT, VGTRK works with RT quite actively. Unfortunately, Channel 1 doesn't show a lot of time devoted to SMO, to patriotic subjects. Unfortunately, the platforms, the serial platforms still call it a toxic subject. SMO is a toxic subject for them. So it's a big problem for documentary makers like Prudkov, like Fadeev, with their movies By the Age of Abyss or I'm Going Home to be shown, for these movies to be shown. It's a big problem. Indeed. But also, it is not only the fault of those who don't show the movies, it is also the fault of those who don't demand it to be shown. If there is no demand, then no one will give you what you ask for. It means the society is not shouting just yet that it has been too saturated with this peaceful subject of general satisfaction, you know? It means that society should be helped. The society should make this request for heroes. And then the society will adapt and will see the heroes. I hope so. I hope that I am not alone in this opinion, in this faith, that we must continue our work, our mission, that we must continue our battle. Then the brains of people will change. It's very difficult, Dan, as my 4-year-old son says, it's very difficult for people, for humans to change, to get out of their warm, comfortable rooms, to go away from their parents, mom and dad, because the road on their own means a lot of efforts and troubles. And I suggest, I talked about it, I suggest to start to train the brain and the souls of our children early. And let the movie about Faina be this primary tool of that training, that the road is complicated, that the way is hard, and that the way is the main thing. And it's not going to be easy, but you must walk that way, honestly. Thank you. I remind you once again that this movie, Don't Stay Silent, History of Faina Savinkova, can be seen on RT Doc website. The premiere, as far as I know, was in the end of October. Yeah, on Faina's birthday, 31st of October. That's a great coincidence. It wasn't planned like that. It's one of those miraculous coincidences, how everything fell into place. All the speakers, all acquaintance, all our life. The whole life is one coincidence. And that's another proof of it. That's the work of God. Well, there are no coincidences in coincidences. Yeah. Okay, I would like to thank our guests that they came to us, talked about the film. We have drawn attention to it once again. We shall wait with impatience for your new movies, Klim. Thank you so much, and we'll have a lot to talk about in the future. Yes, thank you once again that everyone came here, that you gave your attention to our work, to our common work, that you spent your time to come here. It's very important. And great success to you, Faina, in your studies, in your work already. Thank you. Thank you very much. See you again. Thanks.